Seriously.
Deep throat the mic.
Deep throat the mic. Gonk, gonk.
Spit on that thing.
That's what they call me. That's what they called me in high school. Deep throat.
Oh my. And welcome back to the channel, my friends. Thank you for clicking in on the video. I'm your host, Ronan, and this is Hardcore Fiction. I almost lost the title in my head.
Do you have to remember which one
I had to remember what I was doing today for that. I am here with my friends, some guests today. We have Kyle. Say hi, Kyle.
Hi.
Say hi, Thor.
Hi.
Say hello, Brian.
Howdy.
We got all of our guests here, full house, full table. So this is going to be a little bit different. We don't have a topic. Hardcore Fiction, we talk about movies, comics, games, and sometimes talk about nothing or whatever the fuck we feel like talking about. And today, we're just going to be talking out of our asses, whatever comes to mind as we're speaking, and you're all going to have to listen to it. And if you don't like it, well, I do have other videos, so do subscribe and check them out. But yes, I guess let's get on into it, guys. What's on your mind? Silence fell over the crowd as we all stare at each other.
Oh man, it's like show and tell.
I'm trying to think of like the dorky shit that has been on my mind lately.
Dorky shit. Well, let's get highbrow real for 2 seconds. The state of cinema. I think I feel it more now because of Halloween. I've been trying to find something good to watch, some kind of that's not a remake. Or not
like
a part 12 of something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I just watched the newer Scream. Like, don't get me wrong, I liked it.
Mm.
But at the same time, I want something more original.
Yeah.
Well, how about like I won't even go see the new Crow. Like,
Yeah, I won't
I'm
go
not
see
giving
that
that.
either.
I'm not giving that the time of day.
No.
I'm
Why
a
not?
huge-
I don't
Friendly.
like the look of it. Like, I like the actor.
That one guy.
That one guy.
Skarsgård, Bill Skarsgård.
One of the Skarsgårds. There's 1,000 of them. It's not Papa Skarsgård, and it's not the vampire Skarsgård,
Mm.
and it's not Floki.
Isn't that the guy that played the clown?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
the
he's
clown.
the same guy. Same dude. Which is funny because after he played the clown, after he played it Pennywise,
Yeah,
people were like, oh, like, let's make him the next Joker. He should be Joker, and he should be Joker. And then, there's fan art, and there's people making all the Joker. And then he ended up, now he's playing the Crow. And then they're like, he looks like the Joker from fucking Suicide Squad. He looks like shit.
no.
He looks awful. Burn him. Kill him.
He does look like shit. He looks awful.
I'm
I
just a huge
don't
Brendan
necessarily
Lee
want
fan.
to.
What was that?
I'm just a big Brendan Lee fan, and I thought, like, the original Crow should have just stayed where it was.
Yeah, there's certain things that don't need to be touched, and that's definitely, I think, one of them.
Well, and that's a franchise. It's like the Predator. You could always just make another Crow. There's already
Yeah.
5 fucking sequels.
Yeah, but the same could be said for, like, anything. Like, the last time me and you were talking about comics and stuff like that, like, there's these multiverses, and there's these different timelines and other things like that, and it's like, you could do that, but everybody's going to want to see, like, the thing. Like, they're going to want to see him as Eric, was it Eric Draven?
Eric
Yeah.
Draven.
Yeah, they're not going to want to see, so-and-so and blah, 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 or anything like that. They want to see the original guy, the original character and shit, so I could see that, but the makeup, for sure, I was not a fan of. The weird, like, drippy blood.
Oh,
in
like the
face.
ectoplasm or whatever.
Whatever's
the fuck
going
that's supposed
on.
to be,
Yeah, I didn't. It was not a big thing. Have you seen The Crow, Brad?
I've seen the original. I have not seen the remake.
There was, like, 2 of them, and I think I seen, like, the second one. What was that, Revelation? What was that? Was that the second one?
The second one was City of Angels.
I seen Revelations, and I thought that one was awful. The dude from fucking...
Edward Furlong from Terminator.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that one is terrible.
That one looked like it was
such a-
shot with somebody's flip phone.
It's got like Tara Reid in it, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I just
that one
remember
was
watching
really
it back in
bad.
the day.
I mean, it's got. I mean, all. Don't hate me for this, but it had Tara Reid in it, so I mean that's kind of how you know it's kind of a shitty time.
Hey, she was a legitimate actress for 2.5 minutes, bro. She did like American Pie, and she did Josie and the Pussycats.
Those are the only. And go on. And
It sounds like
I said 2.5 minutes. that was it.
fucking IMDb over here for fucking Tara Reid apparently.
That was the 2.5. Oh, Van Wilder. There you go.
Oh,
Was she?
there you go.
Oh yeah, she was a Van Wilder, wasn't she?
Not in the leading role though, so that's the half. 2.5.
That's the half.
She always reminded me of the biker mice from outer space.
Biker Mice from Mars?
Yeah, her face, like her face shape, just always reminded me of that. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying I'm like a perfect object or nothing, and I don't like to be a shallow dick, but she always looked kind of fucking like chipmunky to me. And I don't mean like a chipmunk. I mean like a chimp monkey, like she reminded me like a little monkey for some reason. And I don't mean that in any kind of negative way or racist way. Please don't take it that way. That'll be edited later.
We'll cut that whole section.
But yeah, Terror Raid sucks.
Oh shit.
No, that really was the worst of the Crow sequels.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was awful.
There have been some good remakes though. I've seen some pretty decent remakes. And this is the throwing a line way the fuck out there for some of you guys that might have not seen it. Some of you that have seen it. Movie called Overboard. It had Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell in it.
That sounds super
And then they did the
familiar.
new one with, shit, what is her name?
She's from Scream. Not Scream. Scary Movie. She was the main lead in Scary Movie and the Hispanic.
Anna Faris?
Yes, Anna Faris and some Hispanic comedian guy. But it was pretty good. I watched it. I was like, "Holy shit, this is pretty awesome." And I seen a lot of, obviously, I resonated a bit because I am Hispanic, and I seen some of the Hispanic traits in the movie. I'm like, that is how Hispanic people be. We do be like that. But no, I mean, there has been some good ones. That's one of the ones for sure. I think a remake that was pretty decent. And I'm trying to think of another one that came to mind. It. I thought the It
was a
remake
really
was
good
dope.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Actually, I haven't seen the remake yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Check it out.
I want to. I just haven't sat down.
You haven't seen With Scars Go?
No.
That one's actually
I'm the
pretty
only
good.
one in the house that'll watch a horror movie, so having like
Come
2
hang out.
hours to myself to just sit
Movie
down
night.
and watch a fucking horror movie.
Yes.
Dude, it's like
It's hard to find
it's
those
it.
moments, or it comes down to like I could watch a movie by myself at 6:30 in the morning while everyone's asleep,
I do.
or
Same.
I could get high and play video games, and that's usually the one that wins.
See what you
One
should.
of
Do you
the
have a
best-
laptop?
I was gonna say you got a laptop. Stream on the laptop, bro, and then game out.
That's what I do a lot.
I'll do that because like
Like a villain.
my girl and I will play like Diablo
Screens.
together, and like if she's not playing or she wants to watch TV and I can still play, then I'm getting
Oh, yeah.
down.
I can't. One of my coworkers was actually talking about how her and her partner got they got two TVs in their living room, and then she kind of looked like a little embarrassed about it for a second. She's like, "It's low key, pretty fucking dope," and I'm like, "No, it is the highest key, pretty fucking dope. It is fucking amazing to have two TVs in the living room. I suggest everybody do it, or kill your partner, one of the two."
I kind of wish that I had like a living room that was big enough where I could just set up two TVs back to back in the center of the room,
Yeah,
and then have like a couch on either side.
I don't know. I
Like-
kind of like being the side by side though.
You could do this side by side. I'm trying to think. Like if you slid, because if I'm remembering your living room right, you just slide the one TV over, and then I don't know how I can't remember how big your living room TV is, but I was gonna say you could mount one in the corner and then put one like on the wall against
The
it.
biggest issue in my place is finding the fucking studs.
Just keep going till you
Those,
find one.
those walls are not thick enough to hold up anything on their own.
no.
You just take one little nail and you just take a hammer and you just keep going till you find it.
That's what they do at lobotomies.
Clearly not,
You just
clearly
gotta
not
get
a
a feel for
carpenter,
it.
but you know, if you got to figure it out, you got to figure it out. The stud finders are horseshit.
Yeah, those things are fucking weird.
I don't know, mine works. Every time I put it against my chest, it beeps.
Fucking
Oh, Lord. Put that joke back in the drawer.
yeah, right.
You're not supposed to find that. Those aren't supposed to be out.
Speaking of remakes, though, how did you guys feel about the Ghostbusters?
Which one?
The one with Paul Rudd.
I haven't watched a single one of those.
I haven't seen them yet either.
Damn.
Let us know. How was it?
It was actually not bad. Like I like Paul Rudd in movies, so like
I was gonna say I really like Paul Rudd. I find it. I feel like he could make a movie.
I think that was Frozen Empire was the one with him, was the newest one, but the one before that, when they had like the original like Bill Murray, and then they ghosted in Vinkman, I think it was, because like he actually died in real life, so I want to say, and
Oh, they just kind of
can't really quote me on that, but they
copy pasted him in.
Yeah, which was really cool, and I thought that was really sweet. But the latest one, not too bad. I enjoyed it. They kind of kept going with the story from the one before, which was pretty good. And it wasn't exactly the same.
Oh, you're talking about the Frozen one, right?
Yeah, that's
Frozen Kingdom.
I haven't watched it.
I did watch that one. Now that I remember, I'm a liar.
That's the one with Paul
I haven't
Rudd
watched
and,
any of the Ghostbusters remakes. I haven't watched the one with the ladies either.
That one was actually not too bad. I know I'm
wasn't
going to get a
too
lot
bad.
of shit for saying that, but I don't give a fuck. I
I
thought it was
Melissa
pretty
McCarthy,
good.
so
It was good.
she's
I like
funny.
Kristen Wiig.
Oh yeah.
And I like that.
I like all those.
They were
actresses.
all pretty decent. The only problem I had with that was it was very. And again, I'm going to get some probably eyebrows for this or whatever, but I feel like it was very anti-man.
I do feel that.
And that bugged me a little bit because every guy in that movie was just the dumbest piece of shit in the world, and I thought that was really annoying for me. Being a guy.
That's an issue I have with a lot of those. We're probably gonna get so much hate for this video, but any movie that's a female director and it's lauded as a girl power type movie.
Yeah.
It seems like the girl power has to be built on a foundation of dudes suck, and that kind of is shitty.
And I know a lot of women are going to say, well, men do suck. And yeah, there are some men that suck, but there's also some women that fucking suck for profession.
Well,
Exactly.
and if
It's
we're
like
trying
anything,
to
though.
get to a
Ruins
point
it
where
for the
nobody
rest.
sucks, that's not the way to get there.
Yeah. Brian?
Brian, what about you?
Oh my. The everybody or nobody sucks debacle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that I see a lot of films try to tear down the walls on. I mean, that's always kind of been the goal of trying to level out the playing field between genders and smash down the walls between races and sexual orientations and whatnot. And I feel that the media has been on this rampant spree to try and exercise that, but the ways that they do it cause these things to kind of sweep themselves under the rug.
And it ends up, either way, it always ends up tipping the scale to a point where one has to just be really, really shitty in order to show you that this other one is okay. And it's no, why can't they just be already a badass?
It's getting to the point where the solutions are becoming the problem.
Right. And again, one of the biggest ones I think did it, if we're talking about movies, Alien. I think Alien is the biggest one that showed that the guys were kind of shitty, but some of the women in the movie were shitty, but also the woman was powerful in that movie because she was just, it needed to happen.
Well, and it doesn't seem like the guys being shitty is the point in that movie.
That wasn't. And also it's more the android, so it wasn't really a guy or a woman, it was a system that was just terrible.
And that's
system,
just,
bro!
that just felt like, individual characters having different personalities. It didn't seem like the movie was trying to say guys suck.
Well,
yeah.
It's also more or less that they're trying too hard in aspects when if they didn't try so hard, it wouldn't be such a big deal with it.
Agreed. It doesn't need to be and I get that some people would say, well, some things do need to be in your face. Some topics, everything needs to be out in the open to be addressed. And I understand that. But it feels like everything is. It doesn't need to be every single fucking thing. Just let it be what it is. If it's gonna be gory, oh my god, it's too gory, or oh my god, it's too funny, or it's too much. It needs to just let it be that. Let that thing that's being presented be that thing.
I definitely think there's way too much pressure in general being exerted on movie making and TV shows, just across the board. It seems like every movie has to have this checklist of things that have to be in the movie so that nobody gets mad at the movie. And there's topics that you can't put in the movie because if you show those things in the movie, well, then you're glorifying these horrible things. So you're being censored before you even make the fucking movie. and it's just like this stranglehold on movie where movies just aren't even fun anymore.
No, and that is I think the issue I'm seeing now too, where it's like it has to be fun for everybody, and it's like it doesn't have to be fun for everybody.
Right.
Like I just went to a haunted house last night for the first time. Never been to one ever in my life, ever. I'm 36 years old. I'll be 37 in February. I've never once stepped foot into a haunted house. And let me pause that real quick and say, yes, my opinions are coming from a 37-year-old guy, so I'm sure some people are going to be like, well, he doesn't know. He's an old man. Well, let me tell you something, Sonny. I do know some things. But anyhow, I was going to this haunted house, first time ever. It was fun. I liked it. I can see the attraction of why people would want to do it. And it was fun. But it'd be like me going through a haunted house and being like, no, there are really people who've gotten their arms taken off.
Right.
Or, like, I brought up a joke about this, too, at work, actually. I said, I can't wait to get to the part where people are so upset about movies. And I'm not just talking about, I'm not aiming this at and I hate using this word, I'm not aiming this at a generational thing. I'm just saying in general, because it's from people of all ages and creeds. I can't wait to get to the point in movies where people are complaining so much about it where you can't even kill people in movies anymore because there are really people that have been shot. Or, why is that guy hit that guy with a car? Somebody really did get hit with a car before, you know that. So we can't show people that get hit by cars.
You're glorifying tragic accidents.
Yeah.
I feel like if we're gonna do that to movies, we should do the only thing I feel acceptable is like how they bullied them in changing Sonic the Hedgehog's face.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer, like, if you're gonna make a remake and it's like you're gonna try to go too realistic like they were doing with like Lion King and everything, like, granted they weren't terrible, but trying to go too realistic, clearly, like, if we can just bully them to make them, if you're gonna make an animated remake, at least don't make it too shitty.
Yeah.
Well, they kind of did that. They did that with Lilo and Stitch too. They're doing another live action.
Oh no, really? God.
Remake of that, and art for Stitch came out and he looked fucking terrible.
I seen
and
some
the
of
fans
that.
were like, no.
It looked creepy.
The fans said no. You're not doing that.
Honestly, I didn't have a problem with the Sonic the Hedgehog look.
The original?
I didn't mind it. It was whatever.
The super realistic.
I mean, I didn't really like it, but I was like, that's about par for the course with a cartoon that's turned into a
But you see, that's
CG movie.
I guess that is like the big.
I did prefer when they changed it though. Like,
yeah, I mean the comic book look is the comic and cartoon look is what everybody's gonna see and be like. That's home. But yeah, that is. I mean, going back and forth. I guess we've been going like to a serious part of it and like still playful, but I guess all in all, like what I would like to try to say is movies just need to still continue to be fun. They still need to continue to be film. It still needs to be the biggest thing of what it's supposed to be in the first place, which is art.
I think we need
be
to
able to
take
express yourself.
Exactly.
We need to take like the social opinion out of everything. Like some movies, sure, if you're trying to send a message, if you're trying to talk about something that is difficult to talk about, there's always been movies that do that, so that's fine. But every movie doesn't have to be a political statement.
No.
Right. You just take a look at what they did a lot in the 80s, and these movies are constant twists and turns. They have engaging plots, fantastic set design, costume design, and they were proud of the art that they were putting out.
Yeah.
They were genuinely trying their best to put out a production, and the medium remained separate from reality, and I feel a lot of modern films and video games as well have tried to breach the separation between our reality and their reality to make it more of an escape. But I feel like the escape is enjoying the art of it all.
That is a thing too.
Well, the escape is being able to separate yourself from that reality.
Well, that's what I was trying to say right there too. Is like they're always, anytime you watch a movie, and especially comic book movies, I always end up going right back to comic book movies again at some point, but that's how it is with me in my brain. I always feel like they always do that too. They're always like, we want to try to set it more reality. We want to make it like based in reality, a bit more real. Like, the point of this stuff is to move you from reality. You're poking your head into a different world. It doesn't have to be real. You don't have to explain it. It doesn't have to be connected with anything.
That's the whole point of it too, is just to escape and go into something else.
And I feel like at this point,
yeah.
it's almost gotten to the point where if you do have a movie that doesn't try to hit all those topics, it gets shit on and criticized. Like, it's a terrible movie. That movie sucked. It's like, but why did it suck? Like, the story's not bad. It's not necessarily amazing. Not everything has to be a fucking Oscar award-winning fucking plot.
Exactly.
The acting is good. The graphics are good. The choreography's good. Like, why is this a bad movie? Just because it didn't challenge any opinions on anything? It just was a movie?
We talked about this last time you were here. The Scott Adkins and Michael J. White movie, Undisputed 2.
Yeah.
There's the third one that I was talking about. It's an underlined movie. Probably not a lot of people have watched it. It's a good fucking movie. It really is. Did it have the best fucking set pieces and like Lord of the Rings style fucking symphony cuts? No, but it was a good fucking movie. It was unrealistic as fuck because they're like broadcasting this like illegal underground fight on like TVs all over the world and shit.
Right.
You know, they had the scene where everybody's in the bar like rooting and shit. You know.
Well, but that was also kind of the beauty of movies in like the 80s and 90s was everything didn't have to be exactly accurate for you to enjoy the movie.
Exactly.
And you didn't have to criticize the fact that this dude's been firing bullets out of this gun for the last 2.5 hours and he's never reloaded it once. Like, nobody gives a shit. Just enjoy the fucking movie.
Yeah, it's that zany stuff that gives it its charm anyways, so...
And I hate to say it, but I blame a lot of YouTube. And I'm talking to you, YouTube. but YouTube.
Well, now you're never getting sponsored.
Oh, no, I'm never getting sponsored. But I say fucking. I say fucking cunt way too much on my. I'm not here to say for it to get sponsored. But that is. I forgot where I was going with it. But yeah, that is the thing though. Is like 80s movies were great about that. They were able to pull you out of your world and give you something that isn't actually realistic. And like I was saying too about the YouTube and how I blame that is because. I found myself watching videos where it's like, oh, we're taking this weapon or we're taking this scenario and we're gonna break it down and we're gonna show you how this would never work in real life and this is straight bullshit.
Yeah, no, I
it's
got
like,
you. Yeah.
Yeah, you do get a lot of that.
It's fun sometimes, but not everything.
Right.
Yep.
Fantasy.
I think it's fun to poke at and look at, as long as you don't let that become like your metric for judging the movie. Like,
right.
But that is what people use a lot of.
Well, yeah, it's become that way.
It does become. It is that thing.
Another big thing that I think YouTube contributed to is the crossover cultural phenomena we're seeing right now. Everybody wants crossovers.
Yeah.
Marvel really set the tone for that, and now you've got Fortnite with its infinite number of crossovers. You have all these movies and TV shows that have been like, oh yeah, let's break the fourth wall and combine these two, stories.
There has
together.
to be a cinematic universe for everything now.
Everything.
I remember when I was a kid. Well, when we were kids. I don't know how old everybody is. I know you're my age, but
Yeah.
like shows did crossovers and things like that, but it wasn't common, and it was always like
it was a big
because
thing.
it wasn't common. It was like super cool, and now it's like, oh my god, how do we just stop?
Yeah, 'cause, like I remember growing up, like I remember where there was like the Fairly Odd Parents and Jimmy Neutron crossover, and that was like a huge thing because, like you said, Thor, like it doesn't happen often. So when it did happen often, like you were like, oh, that's super exciting, and then now, like you said, it just kind of plays out.
Like some of my favorites,
everything to be a crossover.
Some of my favorites were fucking like old Spider-Man cartoons or the old X-Men cartoons, and they'd have like characters that you either didn't see anywhere in an episode, which was cool just to see those characters, or there were episodes where like the X-Men crossed over into Spider-Man and vice versa, and that was fucking awesome.
Yeah. Portrayals.
But they were like events. They were these whole fucking crossover events. It wasn't this.
Yeah, it was like
everything didn't have to be shared universe.
No, nothing had to be portrayed as like part of a bigger world, and it's like it doesn't need to be that way with every single thing. Like it's okay to zoom in on this one thing here. You don't have to explain every single thing and show it how it's all connected. Like it doesn't need to be that way. Not every movie needs to do that.
I keep seeing articles about how Marvel is changing the way that they're going to approach their movies going forward because they're trying to get people
excited
interested in these movies again. It's like that's not the fuck. We're over it, bro. It's too much. You saturated the market.
Yeah, it's just there's too much of it now. It really is too much. Like you watch any movie that has anything of a superhero in it now, and as a kid growing up, like those were few and far between.
Yeah.
Same thing with like Japanese anime too. You wouldn't see that shit all the time here. We talked about that last time too, and it's just like, it's crazy because it's all in film now. But as much as we can sit here and we can bash on it, there's still a lot of really great things that film has done and
for sure.
is still doing.
Sure.
I would say, and I don't think it's quite dead yet. Me and my brother were talking about this not too long ago, and he was saying he thinks that movies are dead. He's like, I think movies are done. I really do. I think give it a matter of time, and there are going to be no more movies. We're going to be watching shows, but there's not going to be no more movies.
Honestly, what I think is going to happen is it's gonna keep escalating until it gets to that point where it's like you can't kill people in a movie because people die, and we don't want to offend anybody who's lost somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna get to that point, and then somebody's gonna fucking lose their shit, and they're gonna be like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm gonna make the movie I want to make, and if you won't produce it, I'll produce it myself, and if you won't air it, I'll show it wherever the fuck I can. I'm tired of your bullshit, and we're basically gonna get like a cinematic revolution.
Yeah, I could see it.
But it's gonna suck right up until that point.
Gonna have bootleg film showings and abandoned parking lots at 2 a.m. Like,
because it just feels like most of their shit, they just keep running out of ideas, so that's why they just keep doing remakes after remakes, or they're just trying to add on to series that are already... Just stop.
I go back and forth on the idea of remakes as just like a concept, because on the one hand it's like, come up with something original.
Mm-hmm.
But of course we have the luxury of saying that because we were there for the original.
A lot of it's reintroduction.
So
that's pretty much what it is. It's keeping something alive. I just went and seen Beetlejuice not too long ago in theaters.
That one was pretty good.
I haven't seen it yet.
I liked
I
it
really
for what
want
it
to.
was.
Exactly. I like it for what it was, and I like it for that reason, that it is showing another generation, it's bringing people that have never heard of it or seen it into this, and
that was the thing
sparking that love again in that.
I was thinking about when I was just randomly thinking about how I felt about remakes, because I ponder stupid things all the time. But I was like, on the other hand, if I can get over myself and my, prejudice, it's kind of cool that they are bringing this to a new generation.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand them wanting to update it for the generation that they're trying to introduce to it.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks for me because I want to see what I saw last time just updated.
Yeah.
But it's not really for me.
Yeah. That's how I felt about the newest Ninja Turtles movie. I went into it with this high hopes, and I was like giddy as a kid. I set my light. I set all the lights in my house, that are LED lights, set them all for green. I sat down, I had pizza, and I was like ready to watch this Ninja Turtles movie. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This is weird. I don't like this. This is dumb. And I'm like, and I had to look at myself. I'm like, okay, I'm not a 15-year-old boy. I can't connect with these guys, but that's fine. At the same time, it made me happy because I was like, this is cool because there's some little kid out there. I'm remembering me when I first watched Secret of the Ooze when I was a little kid, being like, there's some kid out there that's going to watch this, and he's going to get up, and he's going to go look for...
And this is going to be his turtle
movie. He's going to be playing with fake socks and making them into nunchucks in his room, and he's going to be fighting these monsters and stuff in the yard. Like, I'm like, that alone right there put a smile on my face. I'm like, that's
why I love the fact that they're doing an animated series.
Yeah.
That's basically the same world, the same characters, the same style.
I watched some of it.
And I'm like, that's so cool because now they really have... I mean, there's multiple iterations of Turtles that have spanned the last 20 years, but...
Oh, absolutely. I've watched a lot of them.
But this one is like really setting itself up to be a generational kind of event. It's a movie my son gets to watch, and that's kind of his Turtles. And it's a show that he can then continue with. But of course, I'm also showing him the original Turtles because I want him to be a decent human being.
It's kind of how I felt with like the Scooby-Doo stuff when they kept like going on with Scooby-Doo, because I'm a big fan of Scooby-Doo at heart.
My kid loves Scooby-Doo.
My kid, like my daughter, like I showed her Scooby-Doo, and then she was like, "Oh, these ones are cool," and it was like the later ones, and then when they remade it and kind of the animation got really weird, like the Mystery Incorporated.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the story on that was good. It was kind of dark, but it was good. But I didn't care for the animation. And my daughter liked it, so I was like, alright, I'm going to show you these ones. So we went back to, like, Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island. We also did, like, the Scooby-Doo show, like, before... what was it? They had, like...
What's New Scooby-Doo or whatever?
Yeah. Before they did the What's New Scooby-Doo, and, like... They had fucking Scrappy, and then I was just watching, what was it, the 13 Ghosts with Vincent Van Price.
Yeah.
I was just watching that one the other day because it's Halloween time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like I said, all this. I think
Just
that's what's
classic hand drawn.
Oh yes. I think that's what brought me into the whole thing of thinking about remakes and stuff. Because watching how many Part 12s and remakes they've made of all the horror movies and stuff, and I guess the perfect segue, well, imperfect but kind of a perfect segue into the next thing I wanted to bring up. In movies too, especially that I've noticed, death. A lot of death in movies, and portrayals of death is what I started looking into.
So I feel like that is a trend.
What do you mean?
So you have some directors and movie makers where that's always sort of been their signature. Like Tarantino's a good example.
Mm.
Very, very high death, sometimes over sensationalized. Kill Bill, you know, almost an anime style done in live action.
Mm.
But it wasn't something that everybody did. So it was always kind of taboo and edgy when somebody incorporated so much death or killed off characters that most shows wouldn't kill off because they're a main character. Lost was big for doing it when they first came out. Game of Thrones got a lot of attention for killing off characters that everybody was shocked by. And because they got such positive, for the most part, attention for that, I feel like movies that come after that try to ride those coattails.
Yeah.
And they just pack a bunch of death into their movies, and it's not always as impactful or as poignant because they're just trying to get that shock value.
Yeah.
And they're missing the actual value.
I was just gonna say I've noticed that, and I've noticed like a lot of thing like it's kind of fucked up, but I've noticed it. I don't know if anybody else has, but like a lot of stuff pointed at like kids. Like I watched this movie Cobweb. It was something about like this like kid's parents like fucking kept his sister like hidden, and then like the Five Nights at Freddy's stuff. Like, if you actually like listen to the story of it, it's kind of fucked up. It's about like
it's pretty gruesome.
Yeah, and even like with their before one with Nick Cage, that Willy's
Wonderland. Yeah.
Same aspect. It's basically the same thing. But
like I'm okay with showing death in movies and all that stuff, but I try to draw the line at like you don't need to show kids getting killed.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
Like yeah,
that's another one. It's like I feel like it was used to make a dramatic point.
Yeah,
and now everyone does it because they feel like it's going to give that sense of gravitas to their movie.
Yeah,
but now it's just become gratuitous.
Yeah,
and so it loses all meaning.
Yeah,
I feel like viewers, as a trend as well, have kind of gravitated to movies with a lot of violent deaths, perhaps maybe even as a means to like desensitize themselves to all these different ways to die. Like there was 1,000 Ways to Die, the TV show, that was a smash hit for viewers, and
people like death. They do.
Yeah.
Well, it's and I mean, at the same time, I fucking love The Boys for exactly that reason. It's fucking bloody and gruesome, and people get fucked up in horrible ways, and it's fantastic.
I really liked that show for the fact that it was like, because I've always wanted to see a superhero movie or something along those lines where it was like, real life, like what would happen? Because they're flinging a car. Somebody like 6 miles away just got fucked up.
Yeah.
So like when I was watching The Boys and I seen the one speedster dude run through a chick, I'm like, that would probably fucking happen.
A-Train, yeah.
No, it's true, and like Hancock kind of touched on that back in the day.
Yeah,
but it got so much criticism, so then you never really saw anything else like it until The Boys came along, and they were just like, "No, this is what would really happen if people had fucking superpowers."
Just drunk as shit.
Hancock walked so that the boys could run.
You see, there was a show, I might have talked about this before in other episodes or on the stream, but I have talked about a show that I used to watch. It was exclusively came out for only PlayStation. It was a show called Powers, and it was based on a comic book. The concept in the show, I'm not too sure how close it was based on the comic book, but Powers was about a cop who lost his superpowers, so he had to become a cop now. But this whole show gave you a lot of the perception of the people, the citizens that have to live in a world where superheroes exist.
Yeah.
So they're all sitting, like one of the scenes that always stood out to me is they're all sitting at a table like outside in California, they're having like drinks, and you hear alarms going off. And it's simply just because superheroes are flying by. And everybody has to get down because the windows are shaking and shit's flying off the shelves and all these things are doing are just flying over the city. And it's just letting you know, like, just how powerful these beings are that they're living in the world with. And I'm like, this is really cool. And it was very graphic and very gruesome show, but it didn't do anything. Nobody cared for it because it was a PlayStation exclusive show. You had to subscribe to that.
I love shit like that.
Yeah.
Because even when I was a kid, I used to think about those sorts of things, and I'm revisiting it because I'm like, I've got my kid watching the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers right now.
Word.
Which is fan-fucking-tastic. But I'm watching it, and I'm remembering back to when I was a kid watching it, and even then I was like, these bad guys and even the Megazord are just crashing through fucking office buildings. And then afterwards, all you see is like, the Power Rangers saved Angel Grove again today. It's like, well, yeah, but didn't like hundreds of people just die?
You just Zack Snyder that whole fucking side of the city. And the Zack Snyder Man of Steel movie got so much shit for that too.
See, I loved Man of Steel.
I thought Man of Steel was great.
I loved the tone. I liked that it was a little darker, a little grittier.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Henry Cavill as fucking Superman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Henry Cavill's a good Superman.
I get even further than that show Powers though, and further back and before The Boys and stuff. The one thing that showed like the more darker side of the superhero world was The Watchmen.
Oh yep, The Watchmen.
Yeah. It's
been a while since I've seen that.
Yeah.
Have you ever read the graphic novel?
I have not.
I'll have to see if I can find my copy. The graphic novel is fucking amazing. The movie is entertaining. I didn't mind the movie by any means, but it does not even come close to the original graphic novel.
I enjoyed it both. I felt like it was very from a visual standpoint, I feel like you could flip the pages of the comic and you could watch the movie together.
Yeah.
But they did change some of the foundation of the story. They did change some of the stuff, and some of the stuff they changed.
Have you watched
the show?
The series?
The show is literally supposed to be exactly what happened after the book, is what I understand.
Okay.
And I've watched maybe 4 episodes of the show. I want to finish that. I really need to.
I haven't even started it yet, but that's one I'm definitely interested in.
It was good. Ozymandias, the main guy in there, he's played by Jeremy Irons.
Oh, nice.
So like
fucking love Jeremy.
The characters we know, he played Scar's voice in the original Lion King.
Gotcha.
He played Alfred in the last Batman movie, not the one with Robert Pattinson, but the Ben Affleck one.
Yeah, the Ben Affleck one. Yep.
But yeah,
There's
it was
also the Dark Sorcerer in
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh God.
Oh, okay.
The original Dungeons and Dragons. Back in the day.
I know the name.
Back in the day, Dungeons and Dragons.
1999 Dungeons and Dragons. But all them characters are supposed to. It's supposed to have aged like from what I understand. Like when that show came out, it's supposed to have been like that amount of time has gone by. So and now we're into the story, and like cops and superheroes are like side by side. Like you can be a superhero, but you have to wear a badge. You have to be a cop, like kind of thing. I think that's the world they set up, if I remember it correctly. Because the main character in there is, I can't remember her name right now. She's a good actress, and she tells people she used to be a cop, and now she runs a bakery. But really, she's got a secret lair under the bakery where she goes and gets all dressed up and wears a badge, and she's still fighting crime and shit. So like, that's fucking dope.
I did always appreciate Watchmen for being a very like gritty representation of superheroes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like it definitely has its brutal moments, and some fucked up shit goes down. Did you guys ever watch Heroes?
Yes, very little bit of it, not a lot.
I don't think I caught it.
That one is on.
I think
it's on Peacock.
I think it's on Peacock, yeah.
And it might also be on Tubi.
You see, Heroes deceived the fuck out of me though. Because when I saw the show Heroes, I thought it was the comic book Heroes. The comic book of Heroes is like what is it called? Is it called? I don't want to say because I'm gonna get it wrong. Is it an acronym or whatever when they put the like dots in between each letter to represent?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Heroes was the name of the book, but it was an acronym.
Right.
And it was supposed to be this ancient device that these kids found, and when you spell out the word hero, it turns you into a hero. But it's a roll of the dice. You could be any kind of hero.
Oh.
So it was cool, but it showed like this thing and I think it was only like these kids because I only had like 1 or 2 issues of this comic, but it was a little artifact, and each issue was a different person that found this artifact because it would like leave them at the end of the book and go to another person, and it was kind of cool because the one issue we had, it was like these group of teenagers that were treating it like a jackass thing, like they were like dressing as these heroes and like, oh, I'm mega dynamite, whatever the fuck, I'm gonna stick my arm in this wood chipper. I'm a superhero, I'm sticking my arm in this wood chipper, so they would do stuff like that, or like, oh, like we're gonna go and play a prank in the mall and like dress up like this dude and he's gonna pretend to beat our asses kind of thing, like,
Yeah.
Right.
and then that was the only issue I ever had, and the second one was, I think, the continuation of that one, which is they lose it and this fucking like crime dude finds it. He's like a mafia guy, and he like finds it and he's like,
Oh, and he
shit.
becomes like a supervillain?
Yeah, so it was pretty neat. It was a good idea, a good concept for it. But like, I guess I'm drifting off from the point I was trying to make earlier with the movies and stuff, and we were trying to talk about like death and whatnot. But I guess that was my next question about movies and stuff. Do you guys have a favorite portrayal of death in movies, like the Grim Reaper, like death, or at least some that come to mind that are like worthy to be like, yeah, that was fucking awesome, like.
Oh no, I do actually have a favorite, and I would be surprised if any of you even fucking know it, because it is a chick flick. But Meet Joe Black. You motherfucker, you sexy motherfucker, glorious beast. Yes,
Sir, I went to see that in theaters with my sister. I'll have you know. I did.
I've heard some people give that movie some hate, but I think it is fantastic.
It's a magnificent film.
And I think that's actually
Hopkins.
I think that's actually one
That's
of
it.
Brad Pitt's best fucking performances.
Anthony fucking Hopkins, man. That's
What
it.
happens?
So the main idea essentially is Death is taking a fucking vacation, and he inhabits the body of this man who like just died, and spends some time on Earth living as a man. Like, yeah,
It's like a week. He gives himself a week vacation away from.
Um,
Well, he doesn't, because he explains it in the movie. He asks him like, "Well, who's doing your job right now?" And he's like, basically, in so many words, says that it's like a subconscious of what he's using. Like he's kind of like the way my brain perceived it is like how you function throughout your day and you get things done, but you might have your mind on something else.
yeah,
I feel like that's kind of what he was.
The
Yeah.
system works well enough at this point that he doesn't need to.
Yeah, it
put
doesn't
his
even
focus
be
on it.
there.
And it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but Anthony Hopkins plays like this CEO of this major
Communications.
company, or is he a lawyer?
It's a communications company.
Okay. And technically, he's like next on the fucking list. But Death is giving him an extra week while he is there taking a little vacay
Yeah,
on the mortal realm.
enjoying the lavish life because he's rich as fuck, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna stay with you for a week." He also ends up falling in love with his daughter, and he's connected to his daughter, and he comes at life, he comes at everything like very curious, like a curious child. Like he's almost childlike with a lot of things, but not like to the point where he's like playing in Jello and stuff. But he's like oh, like very curious. Everything's like very new. Like there's a scene where he's like he tries peanut butter for the first time, and he like blows his fucking mind, and like he just loves peanut butter, and like it's a pretty neat little thing.
But the dichotomy is they also show scenes where he'll interact with an old person who's on death's door,
Mm-hmm.
and his like spiritual wisdom is much larger, much more refined. So it's just like those mortal things that he doesn't really understand.
Yeah, he's very
'cause
curious.
He
about
doesn't
them.
deal with that part of the human existence.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. There's a lot of really good lines. It's about 2 hours and some change of a movie. It's a little bit long, but it's pretty good. Like I said, I agree with Thor. It's probably one of Brad Pitt's best roles. I think he did. Very, very believable. Anthony Hopkins can read you the back of his cereal box and you'll cry.
He can do anything.
But he's amazing in that movie as well. He really shines.
I can't remember
Really
the
really
actress's
shines.
name, but she's really good in that too.
She's from like Mallrats and a lot of movies like back in the early
Yeah.
mid 90s. Yeah, I think it was 98, 99 is when Meet Joe Black came out.
Also, worth mentioning, one of the best and funniest car accident death scenes
Yeah.
in a movie
Yeah, yeah.
ever.
If I could find a way to edit it and find a way to put it into the podcast, it would be a funny jump cut to be like boom boom and just show the scene. But
There was a point when I was a kid where I managed to put that on like a repeat loop.
mm-hmm.
And I would just sit there and watch it over.
It's pretty graphic if you see it, dude. Like he's because the body that he takes over, that Death takes over, had just like had a huge connection with the guy's daughter. It just so happened fate landed them in this diner, and they end up hitting it off, and they end up talking for like hours, and they have this really big like soulmates basically. They meet each other, and she goes to her job, he's going to do his thing, and they both like do the turn around, the other one's walking, and he starts walking, and she turns around, looks at him, and they do that whole bit, and he's like wants to go back and see her, but he like gets as he's looking over and seeing her, he wants to run and get to her. He's like, oh shit, I almost got hit by a car, and he's like, whoa, holy shit, that was close. Turns, and he's like smack, goes into the air, and as straight midair like Tekken combo, he gets fucking juggled and gets smacked by another car and gets sent the other way.
Holy shit.
Oh yeah, it's funny. It is funny if you see it, because it's so out of place in the movie almost.
They were definitely going for like that dramatic shock moment.
Yeah, because it's like Brad Pitt's in all the posters. Like, why did he get killed? Like, we don't understand.
But it is so out of place that it's like just jarringly hilarious.
Do you have a portrayal of death, Kyle, that you seen in movies of the Grim Reaper, and you're like, or in any kind of media where like that's probably stands out in my head?
The only thing I can really think of, just because I've watched the movie recently with my kid, was The Frighteners. Like, just the way how he comes out.
Yeah, that shit's scary. That was that was frightening, if I say so myself, pun intended. When I was a kid watching that, that was.
Dude, my kids fucking love it. My daughter, I'll put it on. She's like, "Oh, we're watching The Frighteners," and I'm like, "Glad you find this like comical," because I was like, "That's not fucking comical."
Oh, when he turned around, when the guy in the bathroom turns around, he's got the number on his forehead.
Yeah.
I used to scare the shit out of me. I used to be terrified about that, because I'm like, what if I see numbers on people's foreheads one day? What do I do? But yeah, that was pretty classic look too, like the
robe and
the shroud
scythe
robe
and everything.
scythe, yeah.
Because when you brought it up, like, that's the only thing I could see in my head was when, like, he's coming through that hall, like, going after Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
And just got the cloak and all.
Yeah. What about you, Brian?
I love the Adventure Time depiction of death. It's just this little guy always fixing to take a nap, and sure enough, he becomes, the ruler of the underworld,
Nice.
the afterlife, and he's got his
Nice.
little pillow with him. I don't know. It's comforting.
Yeah.
It's more of a nap.
Honorable mention for Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh,
dude,
of course.
yes.
Yeah.
Bill and Ted's was
The fucking
hilarious.
when he does the whole like plays the stand-up bass on the scythe. I thought that was pretty fucking dope.
Yep, that was funny.
The portrayal of death that always hits me in my head anytime I think of death now, is as far as the embodiment of a character, especially for in media and whatnot. There was a movie that was out on HBO Max. It's what is it called? I think it's the Death in the Family. I think it's called. It's like you would think you're going to be watching the Death in the Family of Batman, but it's like it's a series of short stories that are set in the DC universe, which I would love if they did an actual like live action fucking movie like that. That way you can see all these different people and not have to worry about them all like joining together or anything. But anyhow, we're getting sidetracked. The very last one is about an artist who is just really shitty at everything else in life. Like, he's terrible at everything. Relationships, he's terrible at his job, he's terrible at being a friend, he's terrible at being an owner of an apartment, and he sucks at everything but art. The man can draw like nobody else. He can paint beautiful pictures. And there's a scene where he meets this girl at a bar, and she's got like this black shortcut spiky hair. She wears a top hat. She's got like goth girl makeup on. She's dressed kind of like a goth girl, but she's like so pleasant, and she's so nice, and she's so warm when she talks, and she just carries herself so nicely.
This is the DC universe?
Yeah.
Is it Zatanna?
No, she's not Zatanna, but that's who I thought it was at first, but no, it ends up being Death.
Oh, shit.
But she's so like she's so understanding in the story, because he sees her talking to this couple there's a car accident, and she's talking to this couple, and she's like, guy's freaking out. She's like, hey man, she's like, I'm sorry, like, but it's just how it is. And the guy's like, he's like, oh, he's like, he doesn't understand what's going on, and later on you end up realizing like, oh, that was her talking to two like souls, like it's okay kind of thing. But in the spoiler to the whole thing, he is sitting down in a chair and he's talking to her because she's like, hey, you want to hang out kind of thing, and he's like, yeah, like, pretty girl, come back to my apartment. And he's sitting there with her and he's talking with her, and he looks outside and he notices that the rain stopped, but the rain literally like has stopped. And he's like, what is going on? And she's like, well, you said you just wanted a few more moments, so here it is. And he's like, can I draw something? Can I just at least draw something before I go? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, what do you want to draw? And he's like, you. So she sits down in a chair, she takes her jacket off, she sits there, and he draws this beautiful, beautiful painting. They don't show it. He draws this fucking painting, and they never show it.
Fucking lame.
And he looks over and he sees himself, his out of body, like in a chair, like dead. And I think they pan over like a syringe and shit, like, you know, he fucking, like, he did himself in or whatever. But yeah, she gives him that last moment to do a painting, and then he sees his whole fucking apartment going up in flames. So nobody's going to be able to see this painting he does. But the big kick of it all, he comes in, and they show the firefighters are doing this whole thing, and one of the firefighters is like standing in awe, and he's like, what happened? He's like, everything in this apartment burned except for this. And that's when they finally show you the picture, and it's of her. He drew her. It was really fucking dope. But that's probably been one of my favorite portrayals of death in movies and stuff, is probably her. Because it was just like, she wasn't grim and crazy and coming at you, and it wasn't even like very like overly like angelic. She was very much like a person just coming to you and being like, hey, like, this is part of it. You know, this is what it is.
I will say, in that same respect, do you ever watch the show Lucifer?
Yes.
Yeah.
One of his siblings in that is technically the Angel of Death.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the one that's like just this cute little girl.
Yeah.
And I found that one rather amusing.
Yeah. I think that's... Death itself is just, to me, especially... That's been one of the things I've been thinking about a lot, especially around... it's October, that's why I'm using that as an excuse. But yeah, that's been one of the things that's been, dare I say, a little heavy on my mind. It's been death. I've been thinking about it. Like, afterlife and how it's portrayed in movies, and how, like, just us as humans, like, how we perceive it, and how science... And I hate to say it that way, but how, like, a lot of people believe that when you die, you just turn off. You're just...
Right.
Boom.
Yeah.
And I hate to be the one to say it, but the more I think about it, the more I ponder, the more I go over it in my head, like, that is one of the things that makes a lot of sense. To just shut down, turn off. You know? Like, when they're like, oh, like, what's your idea of heaven? You know, like, what do you think about heaven? What do you think about heaven? And then the whole joke of like, oh, 7 minutes in heaven. And it's like, well, did you know that the brain stays alive for 7 minutes after you die? There's still energy kicking around in your brain for about 7 minutes. So some people think that's when people experience heaven. Like, that's you thinking of the next step in life, and like so like basically like your heaven where you live, where you stay, that last bit where you were at, it's like that's it, you know. And another spoiler to that, I finished the last Ronin comics. And I don't know if any of you guys are big Ninja Turtle fans or not, but I'm going to give a big part of it away right now. Mikey ends up being the Ronin.
Yeah.
He's the one that's the Ronin. He dies. He fights. He's laying there. He's going out. And there's a lot more to it, but as his eyes are dimming out, he hears his brothers. And he opens his eyes, and they're all waiting for him. They're like, hey, man, you've been asleep. Like, come on. Like, we're all going outside. He's like, we're going outside? Like, it's daytime. He's like, no, come on, we're going. So it ends with him on the rooftop with everybody who's died. And they're like, he's like, oh, like, do you smell that fresh air? And he's like, yeah, it smells like home. And it's like, and that was it. That's where his story stops. And then it continues on to something else. And I'm like, oh, like, yeah. And, like, mind you, I'm sobbing, fucking bawling my fucking eyes out because there's so much more to it than that. But, started me thinking, like, okay, and he was happy, he was in heaven. Like, okay, but what's beyond that moment? You know? Or is it that's it? Oh, you got to this really good memory, here it is, boom, and then, like, think of a dream, you know? Like, in a dream, when you have a dream, just kind of ends, or you abruptly kind of fall into that dream. What if that's how death is too? Like you just like boom, boom, and then done.
I was thinking along similar lines recently, because I was thinking about like people nowadays. Like we all get so bored so quick. If anything is the same over and over and over again, like nobody likes that. Everybody likes a little bit of variety.
Mm-hmm.
So why do we seem to believe in like an afterlife where we just go on living in absolute peace and comfort? Like we're not the type of species to just let that linger in happiness and peace and doing the same thing day in and day out. Like I don't really see that as being anyone's heaven, but that's kind of the portrayal
of heaven.
Yeah. And then it goes on for eternity.
Yeah.
Just the same old for eternity.
You see that in any religion, though.
Like, who's really going to want that?
Like, even like the Norse people, like going to Valhalla. What is Valhalla? It's where we
drink you go and you have a war every fucking day.
And we fight, like, yeah, but eventually you're going to be like, why can't I go sit down and just be under this tree and eat figs and sip on tea for a few hours? You know? Paradise is a place where there's no worry, there's no nothing. Like, okay, but God forgive me, but that sounds kind of boring sometimes.
Well, and that's what I mean. It's
it sounds
like,
a little boring.
Unless we are just completely different creatures, and that drive and passion and boredom and whatever is just pure human experience, I can't imagine how anyone would be content to do that for eternity.
I feel like maybe the mindset would be the same. The spiritual mindset of that would be the same as being like an infant. Like, do you cry when you take a shit or are hungry anymore? Do you scream and cry about it?
Every fucking time.
Yeah,
bro.
that's what I mean. Like, when you got a shit, you go in there, you just see while you're letting out a fucking turd.
Only after Taco Tuesday.
That was me this morning with hot Cheetos and Taco Bell in my stomach from last night. But I think it's that same thing. It's like your mind it wouldn't even be a thought. I don't think. Maybe, I mean, here's me contradicting myself and being like, well, this one makes more sense. But then also the other side of the coin where I believe in the afterlife, and I do believe in spirituality and in the paranormals and whatnot. But that does get me to that point where I could see that, how it would be a thing, because you could be like, well, that's not going to be a thought in our brains anymore. Why would we want to think about it's not even a thing,
right?
You know? It's like saying like, oh, you know, I don't know. A good example, me being bald, I have a shaved head. You're like, oh man, gum in the hair. Like, yeah, gum in the hair. Like, just peel it off, man. Like, maybe that, and that's probably a terrible analogy, but you know what I mean. Like,
it's not even relevant.
It won't even be a relevant
experience.
thought anymore to be like, oh, like, but what about all this pain and this? Like, well, that doesn't matter. Like, if you get bored, I think what was the movie with Robin Williams? What Dreams May Come?
What Dreams May Come.
Yeah, what dreams.
When heaven was literally like what you make it.
Yeah.
Well, see, but that's why, like, personally, I believe in reincarnation.
Okay.
So I don't believe in a heaven where you just go spend eternity doing the same shit day in and day out forever.
Okay.
I think that's the point of life, is having the experience. So if you are bored, you go and you live.
Mm.
You learn new experiences, you experience new emotions, new pains, new pleasures, new everything. And then you go back with your newfound knowledge, and you come back down here and you do it again, and you learn something else.
Yeah.
I share a similar kind of form to that. And I like to think of it as when I die, I become a baby. It's the same saying as when I die, a baby is born. And everything that you ever did in your life that we're living now affects everything in some capacity, even in the most minute detail. Every event that occurs in the future, you had some slight role with what you moved, how you moved, the people that you talked to. You kind of incorporate a part of yourself into them as well, and then that part stays with them, so you still affect everything that they do as well, because they're, they got a little part you.
Right, you'll never actually see the impact that you make on the world.
Right.
No, absolutely not.
In a weird, fresh eyes way, you know, down the line, yeah, you're that fresh kid looking at a future 200 years from now, but even your minute things, in a way, affected that future that they live in now. You had an impact on the overall role, so it's, you know, it kind of plays into everybody is, you know, everyone else, and we're all I, and in a sense, the universe experiencing itself, and each person is a sort of mask of that God experiencing its own thing, saying, all right, I want another surprise. Give me something interesting. You know, it wants to experience it.
Yeah.
And we're always looking for that too. You know, people love variety.
Yeah, it's that different change in each individual person. It's a unique thing. It's a unique journey. Like, I mean, like hot dogs. You eat hot dogs differently than I eat hot dogs. You know, we dress them up differently. You know, everything is a different way, and you know, even it can be a different whole experience for you than it is for me. Different taste, different everything. You know, and maybe that is the same way with life, and that is the same way with the energy in the afterlife. It's like a base. We go right back to it, give back in this information, and then come back and redo it again. And that concept of reincarnation, I can understand that too, and I to a point. But I'm also one of those weird people too that believes that like there are also simultaneous chances in life and things that we could have been close to doing or not doing, like not so much as alternate worlds and universes, but just why do we have dreams of these things that we have never experienced before?
Oh, I definitely subscribe to the many worlds theory.
Yeah, you get this foresight, and it's...
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I guess I'm back and forth. That we're like, I don't believe it, but at the same time, it's like, I don't not believe it, you know? I guess it's hard to say.
Well, I like to think that I take sort of a scientific approach to it. I believe in the possibility of it, but information can always change. Like, that's the whole point of science, is it's not rigid. It evolves with the information as the information comes. Or at least it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Well, that is one thing that, like, people are exceptionally, you know, good at, is we can tell the future in a sense. We like to imagine what tomorrow is going to look like, and we usually have a pretty good idea of it too. You're going to wake up in the morning, brush your teeth, drink your coffee, go to work, you know, what have you. Maybe it's weekend plans or something, but we have a great way of seeing into that future and preparing for it. So we do occasionally get these weird kind of like downloaded moments that come from somewhere.
It's a strange sense of we rely on it very much, and at the same time it's like almost like a guarantee in our heads, like being like, oh, I'm going to go outside and start my car.
What happens when it doesn't start?
No, what happens when it doesn't start, but we have this assurance in our bodies and in our spirits that's just naturally there to be like, yeah, that's gonna happen, and it does. That's that other form of how people are like, oh, like manifest destiny kind of thing, and that's
true.
It does happen if you try hard enough. I mean, but all that being said, in the same breath, there are times where there's some things that just will not fucking work unless you put a ridiculous amount of effort into it, and it's like,
yeah, there are definitely like conscious decisions that we're faced with, decisions that you can pour effort into, but the majority of our decisions just kind of fall on reacting to a moment.
Yeah.
You know, you can sit and think about something over and over in your head, and when the moment arises, you make a snap judgment call and do what you're gonna do, and what could you have done to stop it, you know?
Yeah. Everybody's ready until it's time.
Until it's go time.
Until it's go time, they're not ready. Do you believe in an afterlife, Kyle?
You know, I believe in reincarnation. I believe in there could be an afterlife, but like, you know, I don't really know until, you know, it's that time. But like, I believe there could be reincarnation. I believe that when I die, like, I'll come back as, you know, somebody dealing with like another life, and, you know, or, you know, all the feelings and stuff that you have to deal with along the way, and just pretty much have a new thing and just kind of continue on years from now, and
understanding and knowing and seeing that, like, oh, there's something different coming my way. Let's go out into a fictional spot and call it the source. You go back to the source, and that is a giant pool of past lives and past events and past things, and it's a random, a metaphorical spoodle that goes in there and fills back in the form that is a human life, and then gets sent back, and we have all this mixture of things.
In all honesty, this topic specifically is one that I love to just kind of sit and ponder to myself all the fucking time. And I go in all the crazy ass directions at one point or another. I also love the concept that, you know, if there is a god, a specific being, that we are all just fragments of that being. Like, kind of like you're saying, like little pieces that get sent out to experience life or whatever, and then come back to the source and then out again. Just like little information collectors, just experiencing things and coming back and bringing that experience to the whole. Those minute experiences, which is gonna make me ricochet off into a very, 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 very sensitive and very delicate topic that I'm gonna bring up right now.
Sparks later.
Sparks later. It's the same way. One of the things in my head that when people say, "Well, why did God let that happen?" I don't think God had anything to do with it. Well, God sees everything. Okay, the way I imagine how, and this could be wrong, again, a man who believes in God, God forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, I see it as a person who lays out, me being, God, I'm not comparing myself to God, but I'm going to use it as an example, D&D. You know how the story's going to go. You know that eventually you guys are going to have to kill this fucking wizard.
right?
And you're going to have to grab this sword, take him out, and you're going to have to get this potion to drink it and be able to get close to the sword. I know where all these things are. I have an idea, because I know your character, and I know your character, and I know your character, and I know what you guys are going to do when you're faced with these moments. I want to see if you do these things when you're faced with these moments.
I love that.
That's the beauty of each individual person.
I actually see any divine entity as almost like a scientist themselves.
Yeah.
Especially if you incorporate like the many worlds theory into it. Like, this being is literally running a billion fucking experiments right now and seeing the different ways different things influence the outcome. So of course he sees this tragic event in this one reality, in this one lifetime, where all of these people die, and he could, or she could, or they could, or whatever could, hypothetically stop that from happening. But the minute that happens, that entire experiment is wasted. That whole experience is wasted. It only matters if that being doesn't touch it.
Yeah.
I see a connection to math in that sense too, where we can mathematically weigh out all of these things, but there's always this infinite level of rascality involved where something can go wrong. That's always been the case throughout history. Where
Chaos theory.
In simulation theory, where people have been talking about the possibility that we're avatars playing a role in a game. And
oh, sure, like life is a simulation?
Right, life is a simulation. And in a sense, you could think of it as, yeah, it's a simulation.
The last time I visited the show, in the same way that religion is defended as, like, you can't prove that God does exist, you can't prove that God doesn't exist. It's a matter of faith. In that same way, you can't prove that we're not in a simulation.
Right.
Especially if the simulation is designed for you to not realize you're in a simulation.
Yeah. And what's interesting to me about that is how it is what it is trying to not be. It's still the idea that there's an overlord in control of the game and the simulation. There's a designer.
Right, there's somebody running operating the show.
Yeah.
Right, it's the architect theory all the way through. And it's, why does there need to be an architect? That's a deep question.
Can it just run itself?
Right.
Honestly, I think it kind of comes down to this sort of instinctual mentality in humans, I guess, to like to have somebody else
Yeah.
that you can throw things at. You know, it's at work. Having a boss that you can be like, oh, well, funny you should say that. You need to talk to that guy. Not my
Right.
business.
I'm whatever Gotham needs me to be.
Right? Like, we, as humans, we like having a scapegoat.
That's true.
When I went from employee to management, it shifted from my boss to the company.
There's another boss. Always.
There's always another boss. There's always another entity
Always bigger fish.
that you can point to and be like, that's the guy right there that's causing you all the fucking problems. Not me.
That's the guy, Joe.
I'm just doing my job. But that guy, woo!
What do you think about
He's
this?
a dick.
What do you think about the simulation bit here?
But like, I've seen videos and shit of just random shit. But at the same time, you know, it's the internet. Nowadays, a lot of people can make shit up.
Yeah.
But there is some points where like deja vu, or like seeing like just that moment where you're like,
Yeah. No, like the what the fuck moment.
yeah,
Before
couldn't think of the word.
I'm gonna. This is a good part for me to say before I get into this. First, if you've gotten this far into the podcast, what's wrong with you? Is my first thing I want to say. And while you're doing that, give the video a like, please, and share and subscribe and do all that kinky shit that YouTube needs to get off. But yes, while I segue into that real quick, it makes me want to bring up a thing I've been wanting to bring up on the podcast for a while. Have any of you ever heard of salvia?
Yes.
Salvia?
Yes.
I've heard of it.
You've heard of it? I know you've heard of it.
I've definitely heard of it.
Have you? And I know you said you've heard of it too, Brian.
I've done a little
And
bit
you've
of
done a little bit of
research
it?
on
Have you done it?
salvia. No.
So nobody else except for me has done it at this table. So we're gonna make sure on.
Yes, I have never done salvia.
Okay.
Rosh Hashanah.
I've done something like it before, but
I have done salvia before, and it led me to, because we're talking about simulations and whatnot here. I have done it before. I did it the first time I did it. It was a weird experience. I felt myself go through a window, like astral form, like felt glass on my teeth, on my tongue. I felt the sensation of it. I went and I touched a tree that was directly through this giant window that I saw that was like all the way in another field, and then I zoomed back into my body and I was drooling and laying on my side. It was weird as fuck, but I was like, ah ha ha, I did it again. And there was other times where I had smoked homegrown salvia that was given to me. Smoked it, and I was like, oh, wow. Like, nice. Just chilled back, rolled it into my cigarettes, because I was a smoker of cigarettes at the time. Well, we had gotten the strongest brand that they had. It was color-coded. They had the blue, they had the red, the green. Well, the purple was the strongest one, I think.
That's the one that fucks you up.
Yeah, I think it was either the purple or the black. I can't remember which one I got. But at the time, it was the strongest one. And I remember being packed in a bowl, and this girl gave it to me, and she's like, here, hit it. And she was like, she thought it was the coolest thing. She was taking it with her everywhere. We were going places, and she always had it with her. Well, she hands it over to me, and I put the bowl there, and I spark it up, and I hit it. And I'm looking into the bowl as I'm sparking it, and I can see all the way from the right to the left, the way it's hitting, the sparks along the way the embers move over the surface of the bowl when you spark it up for the first time, for all of you who have never smoked weed. So I sit back and I blew the smoke out. And right when I blew it out, there was a honeycomb-like pattern that I saw that swept across from right to left in the entire room.
Oh, like a fucking hologram shimmer?
Yes. And when that happened, I was sitting up straight, and my eyes were looking straight. My body was sitting up, but then my point of view through my eyes had changed. I was no longer sitting up. I was like in a laying position with my head up because I could see my entire body floating and my hands and legs suspended. And I was inside of this sphere. And this sphere had a bunch of honeycomb out of the octagon shapes that were windows, and I could see people looking in and walking past, and I could see like screens, and I could see things. I could just move my eyes from left to right, and my eyes felt so heavy. And then I heard people saying he's awake, and then said we finally got one awake. And then I heard from above me what sounded like through it was a speaker. I don't know why I knew that, but then I heard her, a girl, and I say her because it was a woman's voice, and she goes, "Do you remember what happened? Do you know what happened?" And I just was like, and I don't remember being able to like speak. And she's like, and I can hear people like, "Don't overwhelm, like his vitals are this, blah, blah, blah." She's like, "We were all gone. Everyone was gone. And when we came back, everybody was asleep. Do you know why everybody's asleep?" And then when she said that to me, when she said we all left, in my head in that same moment, it was like either I was remembering or she was showing me some way. I was seeing huge, like, bigger than fucking, like, cruise ship. They would dwarf cruise ships, if you've seen them, with giant windows, and they were huge, and they were lifting off, and I was seeing it through, like, a television broadcast of people going into the space. And then when she said when they came back, I like saw them landing in like places like people were dead, people were passed out, but everybody was like just asleep, and nobody like comatose almost. And she still kept talking to me and asking me these questions over and over, and she's like, "Please," she's like, just answer if you can." I can hear like somebody talking to her, and she was trying to like bat them away from speaking to her and interacting with her. They're like, "Oh, like ask him this," and then she's like getting like I could feel her like frustration. And then as she's asking me and trying to talk to me, I could feel my eyes getting heavy, and then I heard another voice in the back go, "He's going back under." And then she's like, "Wait," and then she called out to me. And when I came to, I was looking at this girl who had given me the salvia, and she had tears in her eyes. And I looked at her and she goes, "Are you okay?" And I went, "What?" And she goes, "You were asking me a bunch of weird questions." I said, "What was I asking you?" She said, "You kept asking me why I was asleep. Why we were all sleeping." And I just looked at her and I stood up and she kept asking me. She's like, "Are you okay?" I didn't answer at all. I walked out the door. I opened the front door. I walked down the 4 steps it took to get down. When my foot touched the sidewalk, I heard somebody say 212. And when I looked up, I was at the Dollar General with 2 waters in my hands. And the lady across from me looked at me and she goes, "Sir, 212. And I turned my head to the left and there was a bunch of people. And I had like been standing there like holding up the line.
Oh my.
And she's like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah." And I put my waters down, paid, and I walked out and I sat down behind the Dollar General and I opened one of those bottles of water, and I didn't stop drinking that bottle of water until it was gone. And it was like a tall, like maybe 2 liter of water. I did not stop drinking till it was completely gone. I don't know why. I was like never been more thirsty. And then all of a sudden I felt out of breath. And I kid you not, I looked up at the sky and there were these giant, the cumulus clouds, those big poofy clouds were outside. And I was staring at it for way too long for it not to have been moving. And none of the clouds were moving. None of them were moving. And I like literally was like rubbing my eyes, blinking and blinking, and then I swear to you not, they were stagnant, and all of a sudden they just started moving. I swear to you right here where I'm sitting that they were stagnant and then they started moving. And that's the only time well, not the only time. That was the last time I did Sylvia.
I'm too high for this shit, bro. That's some crazy
Last time
shit.
was at Diddy's house.
No, here's the after credit scene. Months went by. Almost, I want to say maybe even a year. I was getting ready to take a shower. And I was taking a shit. And there was a mirror. My sister had a giant mirror on the wall. Right next to the toilet. So you can turn to your right and you can look at yourself taking a shit.
Hell yeah, classy.
So I did that for a second, and I was sitting there, I was like, man, I'm tired, just wanted to take a shower, go lay down, go to bed. And I looked over like that, and I stared at myself for a second. And then for, I want to say, the time it takes for you to take a long blink, I heard the sounds of like fluorescent lights, and my viewpoint changed again of me in that sphere. But there was no people, just screens and monitors, and it was just there for a split second. And then when that happened, I was on the floor and like just drenched in sweat.
Whoa.
That was probably the gnarliest dump ever.
This is the shit that changed my life. and that, kids, is why I'm vegan now. I'm not vegan at all.
That's some crazy shit, bro.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's wild.
So when you ask me if I believe in a simulation or not, I can tell you, I don't know. I don't know.
I've never had an experience quite that heavy. That's part of why I'm afraid of like doing
Hallucinogens?
any kind of like psychedelic. Yeah, like I'm really terrified of what my mind would produce or what I would see on acid.
You never know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I want to know those things.
You'd be surprised. I thought myself I would go to a lot of dark spots, and well, I'm saying that after I just told you this fucking crazy fucking story, but it's not too often, really.
But that's what I mean. Like, I'm not sure I'm ready to wake up out of the Matrix and have to confront that reality, even if it's just for a moment. That's some heavy shit.
You learn a lot about yourself.
That's true.
You learn a lot about your inner self.
It'll change the very person you are in a good way.
Potentially in a good way.
I would say, as long
I mean,
as
I
you
don't personally
okay,
see
so-
you coming out being a dick. So.
no,
You've
pass
done
the vibe.
psychedelics. You've had
In my time.
some existential experiences, I imagine,
I've had some
In-
experiences in
in
my
doing
time.
them.
Okay,
And
what's
you
the
also
specific?
have children, so this question is potentially more relevant to you. In that sort of scenario, say we're all in these fucking spheres and we're in a shared simulation for whatever fucking reason. Are your kids your kids? Are they real? Are they in spheres? Are they your children in that reality? Or are they just people?
The way you were explaining that, and the way that you've explained it too, is it kind of reminded me of the movie. What was that? Men of Valor or
Ghost Squad.
Ghost Squad. That's what it was. Yeah,
Yeah, that movie fucked me up too.
Because in that movie, they did like these guys were in war, and they were like they went into this house, and like all this crazy fucked up shit started happening to them in the house, and this one guy kept like having like flashbacks of like people in like a white room like asking him questions and shit, and he came back and it was actually them doing like a brain system because they were hurt in actual combat.
Yeah.
So they ran basically, I don't want to say simulation, but like a comatose run of like each individual person has their own memory that they were reliving through, so that them currently could take care of their PTSD. But the movie was based on showing like what PTSD does to like war vets and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
the way they were going through and like healing the person itself was like that. They were in a room, came to, and the dude's like in a room like hooked up to all these machines and shit, and then he fades out and goes into the comatose that he was living when they all entered the house. Because when at a point he like, I want to say it's like towards the end or something, he comes back in and he's walking out the door and there's a new squad coming in.
The whole idea of a simulation in all of its varieties definitely resonates. You know, I think about like the first time I watched The Matrix and just like the scene of him coming out of it in that fucking pod.
Yeah.
And it evokes like a deep.
Well, it's also
deep
like, oh, it's fiction.
feeling.
It's just an idea, but that had to come from somewhere. It had to come from a thought. It had to come from a feeling. It had to come from a fucking dream. That's what dreams are, I
Yeah,
think.
somebody
it's
had
an
to come up
inspired
with that.
piece. You know?
Yeah.
Dreams are. I feel like I'm a firm believer that a lot of times dreams are memories.
What dreams may come.
Yeah.
Play your cards right. It's me.
I had a
I'm coming, baby.
I had a psilocybin experience that I remember having a pretty bad time for a moment, and I kept having this feeling. It was more than just an idea. It was one of those things that's like locked in, like, you know this, and I just kept saying, like, oh my god, we're all like dead, and this is just the life flashing before our eyes, you know? Like, it's, I don't know. It
Like,
gives you different perspectives.
That's
on
a
things.
weird one to think about, and it just, you know, it feels kind of shivery to think about, like that life, all the life that we've been living, all the life we will continue to live, is all a slow motion experience before that moment of death.
Right, like slinking,
Yeah.
like a slinky coming back to its base.
And
you
even
know?
if that's not what's happening, even if life is exactly what it seems like and we're all just living our lives, the point still makes sense. Like, we are still just experiencing this until that moment of death. Whether this is an active memory or whether it's a normal existence.
This is what I love about hardcore fiction, is that when we're here, we start off with weird random shit, and then we go into like moments where we're like, oh man, this really cool stoner thing happened, and also we're like real life shit, philosophy stuff, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, did you see the dick on that dog?
I feel like this is definitely what happens when we don't have
An idea,
theme in mind.
Theme in mind, yeah.
like, I feel like you tend to stay more on topic when you start with a topic. Just from the ones I've listened to.
Yeah.
You do go off on tangents, but you tend to pull it back.
I try to pull it back to the topic, man.
But when we don't have a topic, we just fucking go.
I like to go,
Hey,
man.
it's
It's,
alright,
it's
man.
nice.
Ride the roller coaster.
It is nice. I like to hear what you guys have to think a lot.
Okay, so I'm gonna segue.
You have a segue? Shit.
I don't have a segue. That would be awesome though.
Not from our sponsor.
Room for our sponsors. Mouth
Diet Dr Pepper.
Motherfuckers.
Motherfuckers.
It's a lot like Schmuckers, but a little bit
Diet
saltier.
Dr Pepper. When you're diabetic and you really want to drink soda, and all the other ones taste like shit.
Oh, yes.
Motherfuckers.
You mentioned deja vu.
Yeah.
What does deja vu mean to you? Like, what is deja vu in your personal experience?
I guess like seeing, like being there before. Just say like being in that area, like seeing it, whether it was like a dream or something that is flashed that like I know this area.
Like, do you enter a moment and remember like a memory that you're just now remembering you had previously?
It was okay. So
Did
there
that make any sense to anybody?
Well, it was
Yes.
more or less like playing something out. Like, say something happens. So I don't know. I guess it would be like playing something in your head. So like you would go and say, I've been in here. Like I've seen myself doing something with you guys before, but like could be something a little bit different, not exactly the same, but knowing like, say I remember like the room, or we were sitting around doing something, or like I see something, or I remember like picking up your pop, or just something similar to that. Just like nothing crazy and extravagant, but just like little things.
I know what you mean.
And it's like a
Yeah.
feeling in the moment.
Yeah, like there was like a moment actually, like I got up to grab something to drink, and Rob did too, and there was like a split moment where I was like, he's gonna like touch my shoulder, or like, you know, in my brain was like push me out the way and be like ha ha ha, because you know I've known him forever,
Yeah.
and that's my boy. And there was a minute where like in my head, just a split second that happened, he walked up and like, you know, just kind of like gave me that hand on the shoulder, like I'm behind you. So like I knew there was something, like he was going to do that before he actually did it.
I gotcha.
I've had times like that too. I remember bringing that up to you because
Or I'm just psychic.
I work with Brian. So like there was one of the times I talked to you at work, and I was like, hey man, like I might have mentioned it like quickly too much, and also the edibles might have been too high, so I've been like not worded right. But I know exactly what you're talking about, Kyle. I've had moments like that too,
Yeah,
where
just
it's like
that little moment where you're like, I know
a
it,
dream
but
that didn't make any sense. Like, why was there a manticore outside?
Yeah.
But there
I
was a
was like-
Lego person next to me.
yeah, just like something random, but the area was the same. But
Right.
Something was.
But then you realize, oh, I was playing, and then you sit there, I'm sitting in my home, and I'm like, oh, I'm at home, there's a video game playing, I'm fighting a manticore, and this person who came to hang out is wearing a shirt that has a Lego person on it, and it's like, oh, this happened. I've seen this before. Like, yeah, I get what that's saying. It's almost like foresight in a sense.
Yeah, because it's like I've felt like that, like leaving.
Well,
like,
and that's kind of the point I was.
before.
That's kind of the point I was going to get at is, for me, what I've always called deja vu. It almost feels like a premonition that you didn't remember you had until it happens.
Yeah, it's like prophecy fulfilled moment.
Because
like,
for me, it's like I'll be in a moment, and I'll suddenly remember, like, having a dream of this exact moment.
Yes.
That I didn't remember until the moment was happening.
Exactly.
And that, for me, are deja vu moments.
Yeah.
It's like the polar opposite of when Gandalf said, "I have no memory of this place." It's like, oh my god, I've been here before.
He was like, that's where I did the ecstasy.
Just makes the brain go.
Random,
away.
quick personal question here, just because I have a theory in my head. We're all guys at this table.
Yes, I'm wearing a
Boy.
thong.
Okay. Are we all cut? No? You're not?
Foreskin twins.
You're not.
Nope.
You're not. Okay. Neither am I. I have a theory about that.
I do too.
I want to hear
I
yours
do too.
first. Go,
All right.
go.
So-
this is great.
I believe.
I don't understand what's happening right now!
Hold on.
Like, comment, and subscribe,
Hold
motherfuckers.
Body positivity, I suppose.
Go on.
But no, I do actually have a philosophical theory about
please
the
feed it.
process
This
of
mi-
circumcision.
Please feed it into
I
this.
don't
Oh
understand.
my,
how
this
relates
could
to
mean
anything.
detriment for
Basically having
future
foresight
careers,
for
and no,
something.
I'm just
There's no
kidding.
foreskin.
But all right, so to me, it feels like you remember everything from the moment you were born and you hit the frickin' pavement and you're going. Your body remembers. Your brain, to some degree, remembers what you went through.
Mm-hmm.
You can catch glimpses of what it was like to be an infant in a hospital for just at any given time. I mean, that's been a reported on phenomenon. And so the moment you're born into this world and they kind of take you away and they give you this physical trauma so that you grow up throughout your life, and it's like, somebody hurt me somewhere and I'm gonna get those bastards, and you never really know.
There's a pain in your brain that
Yeah.
spikes it, almost like an audio line on a line for a huge, like, boom, it spikes it off, and then it kind of almost gives you a reset focus on that moment. Because when you're born, it's lights, you're screaming, you're crying, there's pain,
And then
it's sorrow, and then you're comforted and you're alone. You know, you're swaddled, you're cleaned, you're put here to your, you're comfortable, and then all of a sudden, life goes on. Right? But then if you're cut, then literally you're sitting there, you're playing and cooking and swallow, you're good for a couple of days. I'm good, man. This life is great. All right, come over here so I can cut your dick. I can see where you're going with that for sure, and I share a very similar part of that as well. But I think it does drop off into like the supernatural level, where like foresight, foreskin.
oh my god.
We had this kind of.
Oh my gosh.
The gift of foresight is and Kenny, remember Kenny used to like always. I used to do this shit at my old job. I would sit there and I would rant off about something that was going to happen. I'm like, watch, somebody's going to fucking do this, blah blah, and then it would happen. And then Kenny would look at me. He would go, "The fucking gift of the foreskin, man. It's the fucking foreskin, bro."
Watch
Precognition.
When I'm sitting there, I'm reading a book or I'm watching TV, I always call out exactly what's going to happen, who's going to do this or that, or how the scene's going to play out. I figure the plot out usually within the first couple of scenes that it takes to set the plot.
It gives
and
you.
it's like,
I also think of it as a way as like
why?
being more. And I know this is going to sound really weird, but being more sensitive, you're more attuned now. Things are you're more awake to other sensations, other things, other. I'm not just talking below the belt. I'm talking like just in general. You have a more desensitized nerve, a more sense that is out there that you kind of extend out. That's not quite stouted down.
But at the same time, it's like, does it make that much of an impact?
Does it make it a real
I'm gonna
impact?
poke holes in your theory because I still have those moments. Those
No,
precognitive
for sure, precognitive moments. But what I'm saying is like one of the movie. What was the movie? Doctor Sleep. he talks about people having like the shine about there. Like everybody has this level of it, but there's some people that are just a little bit closer into it. But it doesn't show all the time. Like the guy who will like bring his wife flowers randomly. Why? Oh, I just thought you wanted today. Realizing like, oh, really? She had a really shitty fucking day at work, and you just knew she was gonna need flowers, but you just thought today was the day to bring flowers. Like I've had moments like that a lot. Like,
I do too.
Sometimes I've had things like that happen that have made me uncomfortable, like that it's happened, or like even sometimes when I get a feeling.
It's more than a feeling.
Yeah, when I get a feeling about something, or when I know a person's intentions about something or whatever, and when I'm proven right about it, it sucks. But I hate the fact that it makes me also feel not surprised.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hate being right, man.
It's that I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna hope real hard that it's not gonna go exactly the way I know that it's gonna go.
Mm.
And then just having to be like, well, fuck.
And then I fly up in my head. I'm like, can't be mad about it. Can't be. I really can't be mad.
However, with this being said, I would like to segue into, because obviously, like, you guys have had moments like that. So it's like, you could look at it from the sense that they're trying to cut off this portion of man and to kind of give them this delayed reaction. But then you get into like the Japanese proverb of fall down 6 times, get up 7. The indomitable human spirit always wins. So it's like your first victory to come through that. And it is like, that's a powerful thing. That's a big thing to overcome as a person. And it's magical that it does demonstrate the indomitable human spirit. So there's always these things that, like, they're theories, but at the end of the day, you are who you become, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It is...
Word.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
Shit was deep.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me, too, though, but I do like that idea, though, that you're saying, like, it's a for lack of a better word, it's a traumatic experience that we experience at a young age, and I feel like that has something to do with the brain. It definitely goes back into it, because you said we might not remember to recall things
Active conscious
far
memory,
back,
yeah.
but our body remembers
So
that.
I feel like everybody has like glimpse memories.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Of like,
Oh yeah, like I to this day have like glimpse memories of like being back as like a child.
Yeah.
Me too. I remember
Just
being
like
3.
stuff that like I remember being like 3 or 4 and
like
I
I have my oldest memory that I can think of is being in like a bassinet essentially,
Mm-hmm.
with some bright ass lights above me,
Mm-hmm.
which means one of two things. I remember being under the Billy Rubin lights when I was an infant, like fresh out the oven infant,
Mm-hmm.
which, you know, cool that I have a memory that fucking old. Or I was abducted by aliens at some point.
Word.
you got
Word.
a probe.
I'm open to both of those options.
I think my earliest memory, if I want to fly back as far as I possibly can in my head, it's of me, like, with my hands in my mouth, in my bassinet, like, as a kid, like fingers in mouth. Like, I remember, like, grabbing and holding on to, like, my tongue for the first time. Like, that is one of my memories. And then,
You're like, what's this thing?
pretty much. And then from that, a hop over to that is me being bathed in a kitchen sink. Being able to sit up in a kitchen sink.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
To be that small again.
That's what I'm saying. Like, being able to sit in a sink comfortably to where I can, like, cross my legs and be in a sink.
Right.
Like, and I'm 6'2", not 6'2", but I'm 6 foot and pushing, like, 250, 260. So, like, me going in the kitchen...
It's been a long time since you can fit
me
in
being in the kitchen sink
in a
now is
kitchen
probably
sink.
not going to happen, yeah.
You can fit your leg in a kitchen sink.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Part of it, anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. No, but yeah, far back memories like that, that's fucking nuts, man, to think about that.
I used to have nightmares when I was a kid of kind of like the bright lights above you as an infant laying in the OG crib. But it was represented in a weird way because it was all these waterfall, like water slides closed off, and I'm in this big room, you know, water everywhere, but these big glass windows all around me, 360 degrees. and these giant figures over top of me, like looking down at me, talking to me.
See,
and
you guys are really making me feel like we're in a fucking simulation.
I was C-sectioned. So, of course, the water slides would have been cut off because I was pulled out from the top, you know?
Right.
I was C-section as well.
Pretty sure I was.
I'm pretty sure I was not.
Macbeth actually talks about that. The main character that he needs to beware is the man not born of a mother, in the sense of a C-section. So that's a big honor to go through as well. I think that contributes to later development.
That's what I was saying earlier when you got here and we were out my driveway waiting for you there. I was mentioning that about what me being born felt like a prophecy being fulfilled kind of thing. And which makes it funnier because I found out, I don't know which ones exactly for real, but apparently holy men and prophets kept their foreskin.
Huh. Interesting.
Like in
I don't
Jewish
know.
religion?
I have no idea. But I just remember somebody bringing that up in a conversation, and I didn't mention to them, like, hey, I myself am not cut, but I was like, that's fucking weird. Like, it's kind of cool. Kind of weird, but kind of cool. Like,
And yet we missed out on the honor of being born from the mother in the traditional style.
yeah.
We gotta be reborn.
Well, my mom said plenty of guys' face across her pussy. She doesn't she does not need mine as well.
I was like, I'm pretty sure I wasn't a C-section like damn, you've been eating pussy longer than all of us.
Your mom has a clitoris.
You shut your dirty whore mouth.
Oh, it's the apple from the Garden of Eden.
But no, like that does make me wonder. Like, my oldest memory is being under lights, like in a fucking container. You have a drug experience where you're in a fucking sphere. Mm. You have an experience where you're, in a glass enclosure with people looking at you. Like, it's feeling
what about you, Kyle?
Pretty heavy. Like, there's a fucking simulation going on, man.
I did a lot of psychedelics, but like, I don't remember.
What's your oldest memory? Do you have a far back child memory?
My oldest childhood memory. The oldest memory I have is, well, it's kind of weird too that you say like the white above you. Like, I remember walking through my dad's house when I was a kid. Like, I can remember like how the entire house is, but like I can remember myself walking through the main room from the dining room to the front room because it was like all open. There was like kitchen, all open room, and then the front door. And I can remember walking to the front door, but everything above me is like super bright. Like I didn't look up really, but everything above is just really bright white. But the ceiling was kind of like the drop-down ceiling with the white black lines that I can remember.
Right.
But it's like that, and then I remember like, also, I want to say that's the oldest one, but then there's another one of just like sometimes I see it's like I'm sleeping on the couch, like I can see myself as a kid's like or a baby sleeping on the couch. Mm-hmm. But it's like I'm standing there seeing it, not like I'm...
Oh, well, that's a whole different other level of things that I wouldn't mind talking about either. You're talking about it sounds almost like an out-of-body experience.
Yeah, but it's weird, and that's what I see, like, sometimes, like, that's what makes it feels like it's a dream, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because, like,
I've had dreams like that, too.
Because, like, I can see what's going on, even though I'm in the area, or I know that that's happening and I'm there. Mm-hmm. Like I can see that play out.
Yeah. that's shit that another thing that really blows my mind too, and brings me back into that fine line of either paranormal like entities around us or straight up like the whole simulation bit is having dreams like that as well, where like I swear like I seen like myself in a dream, or like being able to walk around like the house. It wasn't no crazy elaborate dream. Why am I walking around the exact house? Because you think about it, when you dream of a place, it's never the exact place. The
Yeah,
doors
it's
are.
always like an inspired.
It's
always
skewed, yeah. It's like how creating yourself in a video game. You're never gonna be able to make yourself quite right, but there's something there. You know, there's some like if I'm looking back and forth, he looks like a relative or maybe like a offspring of yours or something. But yeah, having dreams where it's exact.
It's
place
almost
is
like
strange.
even if, say what's happening in the room or the building isn't the same, like that's not the same, but like say the building or the room itself, like say like I've never been to your house or anything like that, and I walk in and I go, okay, here's your bedroom and I know your bathroom's here and I know this is here and this is here and this is here, like I've been here before, like just walking around like I know it, and you're like, have you ever been here?
Yeah.
No, but like I feel that I've been here before and like I know where it's all at.
Absolutely. That's crazy. And dreams that are like that, where you can call them out of body experiences, because like I said, nothing's that off or a weird askew. It's the exact layout. That's like, what the fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing that like makes the line kind of bounce back and forth again, like a fucking guitar string. Like, is that simulation proof, or is that proof of like just, you know, otherworldly events of us being able to do that, just being able to do it, or being able to breathe in the information, like re-going through the information or something. It's crazy. It's a blurry line again.
Yeah, it always comes out. It's like strong theory, blurry line again.
Yeah.
Because here's this counterbalance.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
It goes back and forth pretty hard.
Or it's like when people are like, picture yourself doing it, it's like, yes, but you can't. But like when things like that happen, you're like, you actually see what's going on.
It could be said like people just being in tuned, or is it just like, you've done way too many drugs.
We'll never know. Again, strong theories, but then the line gets
But
blurred
what if
again.
but then let's go back up into the whole thing of like the creator, engineer kind of person being the overseer of it. Okay, like the Truman Show, you're getting really close, so we're gonna just have somebody come in and tell you that.
I'm not gonna lie, that movie always freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah, oh yeah,
like
fucking
100%
sure.
the movie scared the fuck out of me as a kid.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think that's where like some part of me actually thinks about like the whole like simulation thing because of that movie, because I remember seeing it as a kid and it traumatized the fuck out of me. I was like, what if shit's like people are watching me, like what the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, in that same way too, like if it's a simulation, or like say we're in the Matrix, are we all
Better get a cool coat.
Are we all people in fucking pods? Or are some of the people in our lives like literally NPCs?
Yeah.
That are just highly sophisticated programs.
Yeah. Because you don't know what life I go through. You're
that are
damn right,
just
I don't know what life you
designed
go through.
to keep you enmeshed in the simulation.
Kind of like
and then how do you know you're not one of those programs?
That's true. That, like, the way you explained it is, this is how I pictured it. If you've ever seen the Percy Jackson films,
the original ones,
like the Percy Jackson, Lightning Thief, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's one where they have to travel to get something, and they end up like going to like this party, and they're feeding them like cookies or like just hors d'oeuvres and shit like that, and they start like loving being there and not actually like on their mission of what they were doing. So
they kind of fall off the path because they've been seduced essentially.
And then they like, and they're like, this is where like we live now.
It's kind of like the concept of if you go into the realm of the fairies, don't eat or drink anything because you'll get lost into the realm of the fairies and you'll never make it back to the mortal realm.
Yeah.
Or if you're in Pan's Labyrinth, don't eat anything, because then, you know, that creepy skinny man is going to grab the fairies and eat their fucking heads.
True facts.
Two grapes, 2 heads.
The twisted mind of Guillermo del Toro.
That or you get David Bowie with this huge bulge dancing around you the entire time.
Yes. I'll take that. Thank you.
Were they trying to make it sound bad or like a great time?
What?
No,
David Bowie? That's why I said leave him and you get out. Leave him and lock the door on your way out.
I'll take Bowie over that any day. His Labyrinth at least seemed fun.
At least his Labyrinth had cocaine in it.
That was fair.
Not everybody's.
Not everybody's cocaine.
His Labyrinth has Jennifer Connelly. A few years later, she's on a table going ass to ass. It's fantastic time.
Just as God intended.
The prophecy was foretold.
and it's come full circle. Oh, man.
Yeah, all of that to really just say it's fun to theorize, but what are we gonna do about it?
Not much. Keep theorizing. Keep living. Keep playing the game.
Keep having the best time of your life.
Damn straight.
That's where my mind went the other day. I was driving and thinking about that, and I was like, man, like, if this is a simulation, or if the afterlife is, you know, this great grand thing, or if all these ifs, and I'm like, point all things aside, no matter how you believe in it, whatever religion, whatever, it's like, this is still the life we have. Got to make some kind of memories in it. Got to do something.
It could be the biggest thing, could be the smallest thing, man. Just
because,
make the most of it.
Again, I'm going back and thinking about death. Like, I don't ever want my last thoughts to be like, oh, man, I don't want regret. There needs to be more of, damn, I did that. Yeah.
I've been using those thoughts to, like, stop and appreciate life more lately.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Because, especially, like, well, now I'm in a new job, so I'm happy, but before that, I was always just exhausted, miserable, and I'd have to stop and just think about it, like, you know, yeah, some things suck, but regardless of what any of it means, whether we're going to fucking heaven or going to Valhalla or popping out of the simulation or whatever it is, how we live this experience is what fucking matters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be so lost in how much everything sucks that I miss the good bits.
Yeah.
For sure. I think about that stuff quite a bit. Because I don't want to, like, miss out on, like, even, like, well, you as a parent, like, you see your kids grow up, you watch them get older, and it feels like it's a blink of an eye.
Right, and that's a big part of it, is, like, my kids are getting older, and I'm like, I want to enjoy these fucking moments.
Yeah, because, like, it's just...
I'm never going to get them again.
They always say, like, every little bit counts. And it really does, like... Whether, like, you're just, like you were saying, like, with the foresight of, like, bringing flowers, like, even if it's something as small as that, to just being in the same room as those people, or just hanging out and seeing somebody you haven't seen in a while, just, like, it's all those mini moments that just make everything.
Yes, that is absolutely it, right there. You just have to stay in the only thing that we know for sure is out there, and that is now. Just this now.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more with that.
One of my favorite little twists I'll sprinkle in there is, how would we ever know that we're awake unless we slept? Versus, as well, how would we ever know that we were born unless at some point we were dead?
True.
Hell yeah.
How do we know we're not dreaming now?
Right. We could think.
That's one that always freaks me out, is when I'm dreaming and I realize it's a dream.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been a few times where, like, because usually as soon as I realize it's a dream, no matter how much I wish I could just stay in the dream and fucking have a great time playing with the dream, the minute I realize it's a dream, I wake up. I'm like, nope, eject. But there are some times where I want to eject, because for some reason I don't like being in a dream once I'm aware that I'm in a dream, and I can't, and then I have to, like, force myself out of the dream. And there was one specific time where I had to do that multiple times, like different layers of a dream before I finally woke up. And all I could think afterwards was, how do I know I woke up?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, like a few things there, but just, like, with the whole coma thing of, like, you know, if we are in a simulation or something, just on a funny bit, I'm like, man, I hope I'm not that guy that's, like, in the diaper, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are you, just comatose, just, like, shit in your drawers?
Wake up and I'm all, like, emaciated and all, like, skin
Right.
bones.
One that TV does a lot that I always appreciate.
Right.
Buffy did it once. The main protagonist is in a fucking mental institution, like, curled up in a padded room, just rocking back and forth, living out this fucking show in their head.
And like that's another thing too. And like when you're talking about being in the dream, I was just like, it played in my head of like, you know how Family Guy portrayed it, like if you poop in your dreams, you poop for real.
You really do though. Just saying.
But no, that last thing of like, you know, waking up and like having to keep waking yourself up out of a dream because it's not like you're still not awake. Like a lot of people want to say it's like lucid dreaming is once you realize that you are dreaming, then like you can control how it goes, and that's like their lucid dreaming. I would assume.
Yes, that's generally that's
I'm
lucid
not
dreaming.
magical enough to understand half the shit. But no, like I've had dreams where I've gone to wake myself up, and then I woke up and went to like roll over and wake up my wife, and she woke up, and it wasn't her, and I was like, that's not right, and it shocked me, and I woke up again.
Yeah,
And
I get
like
those.
after like you're fully awake, like there's been times where like I've straight up woken up my wife. I was like, I'm awake, right? And she was like, it's fucking 4 a.m. What are you talking about? And I was like, I've had to wake up at least 4 different fucking times.
Like I woke up
One
and the
eye
lights
twitching.
were on, and
like
I'm awake.
Like I'm sure
My
she's
name is
pissed off.
Kyle. This is reality, right?
And it's like I don't do drugs, man. Like I smoke a little bit of pot. That's it. And like, dude, for real, like I like woke up and she's like, it's 4 a.m. I'm like, it was fucking 2 a.m. It was like 2 in the afternoon. The other and like, because it was like different levels. Like the first time when I was originally sleeping, it was nighttime, and then I woke up and it was daytime, and then I woke up again and it was like nighttime again, and I was watching TV.
it was like raining outside.
Yeah. And then like the final time is when I was like, am I fucking awake?
One of the worst ones is when you go to sleep. I've had this dream happen, a reoccurring dream like this before. Going to sleep, and in my dream is me waking up from being asleep and starting my day and doing things.
Yeah.
So then when I wake up from that, I'm like, none of that's happened. None of that happened.
Now I actually have to do that.
Yeah.
I've had a dream. I've had something kind of like that, and it was weird. Because like I knew it was a dream, but like I couldn't. It was like one of those like, your body just kind of goes with it. You don't wake up. Because like it was when we were working at the restaurant. I fell asleep, woke up. It was like 1800s, and we're working in the fucking restaurant industry still. Like we have like this. It looked like we were at the Renaissance Fair, and we're all working. And like you climb down this ladder.
Yep.
And down the ladder, the first layer is the kitchen, and then the second layer is the fucking dish tank, because I worked dishes at the time.
Yep.
And dude, I heard the ticket scanners.
Yeah.
I heard people calling for numbers.
Yep.
But it was all like weird 1800s. So they got like pulley systems pulling the food up on trays for them to take it, hand it to
Oh,
people. And like
Those are the worst. Like that's
It
what I
was
mean.
wild.
Like having a dream of doing something you regularly do, but
It's-
like,
Oh, I hate work.
Yeah, I don't
But a
like
different
that.
flavor.
Yeah, here's a different
like
version
the
of it.
1800s aspect was cool. I like the medieval times look. Like I thought it was dope. But fuck, dude, I had to wake up and go wash dishes the next day. Because I remember coming into
Dream
work
about
and
that.
telling everybody about it, and they're like,
Luckily, I
Go to
only
sleep.
remember it happening a few times in my life, but those were always the worst fucking nights. Is when I would dream, like it happened when I was working at Walmart, and my dream, the only dream I can remember, it felt like it was the entirety of my sleep,
"Welcome to Walmart."
was just me working a fucking night at Walmart.
Yeah.
And then I wake up, and it was, and to add insult to injury, I didn't wake up because the alarm went off. I woke up and I looked at the clock, and it was like 9:29, and my alarm goes off at 9:30, and I'm like,
I hate you.
fuck. Like I can't even go back to sleep and maybe get a better dream the second time around. Like
There is no escape.
here we
We're working
go.
a double today.
And that's what it fucking feels like. You go in and you're like, I just did all of this. Oh, it sucks.
So you're like, I know that's gonna happen today. Like, son of a bitch.
The best part to the dream thing, too, is they've been telling us the whole time, man. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream.
I wonder that too sometimes, like when we go to sleep. Because there's dreams that I'll have where it's like, it doesn't feel like a dream. It feels like I'm remembering something that I'm not supposed to remember.
Yeah.
So I wonder if, like, I'm getting glimpses of whatever reality exists outside of the simulation.
Yeah. A memory you're not supposed to remember, and something you're not supposed to get to yet.
Yeah.
Like you're not supposed to look at that yet. Like you're going too far in the book. You gotta like you're not at that chapter of the book yet. Go back.
You get like bits and pieces of it.
Yeah.
Well, then I also think about like my memories, right? It's mostly a handful of significant moments that have lasted the weathering of age.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember my life like a movie playing up until this point. It's more like scenes from a movie.
Yeah.
So who's to say what happened in the moments between those scenes? I don't know.
Right.
I don't remember.
We only remember things when there's a specific trigger that like causes those
Hits that
memories to
moment.
come back up.
So technically, if I had a psychotic multiple personality,
We'd still love you.
I could have been a homicidal serial killer, and I just don't fucking remember.
Yeah. Well.
Because I don't remember having gaps, because those gaps were in the gaps that already existed.
Yeah.
You could be a full-time like underwater welder and
Yeah, who
just
knows?
not even know.
Who fucking knows?
Never even knew how to swim.
It's got water wings on.
One of the ones that kind of hit me. There's an episode of Rick and Morty where they go to like some fucking arcade, trans-dimensional alien arcade, and there's a game where you go into it and it's just living a life
Yeah.
and seeing how old you can get your character before life inevitably kills you.
Yeah. Futurama.
There's an episode of Adventure Time like that too, when they find the people and BMO becomes like the god of this realm of existence, and it's the digital. Everybody's these avatars, kind of like Meta,
Yeah.
but they're all plugged into these headsets and on these chairs, and they're strapped in. And
Oh yeah.
BMO gets in, and he's all sad to leave. But these people wake up and they're devastated. They woke up from their life to them,
Yeah.
and it's just
Or like
makes
I've
you think. Makes you
from
think.
more of like a sci-fi perspective, I've thought about what if like we're all technically some alien species that can't feel emotion, like Vulcans almost, but
Yeah. We're experiencing.
so
this
we
way
come
so that
into
we
this
can't get the
simulation
information.
so that we can experience emotions that we couldn't otherwise experience.
Well, my avatar needs to hurry up. And the person who's running me needs to buy the fucking DLCs already.
Right? That's what I was saying earlier. Like every now and then I'm just like, admin menu.
Any,
Up, down, left, right. Come on. Where's the cheat codes?
Any final thoughts from around the table?
I don't know. We went on a magical ride
there
again.
was a lot to talk
quite
about
a-
there.
That's fine.
We said it all, man.
This is why people are gonna listen or hopefully do listen. Or this is why we do
if you've
it.
made
Life's
it
a-
this far,
Life's a crazy roller coaster, and so
Oh, yeah.
is this episode of Hardcore Fiction.
if you made it this far, you're a G. You are a true subscriber,
Nice.
Damn straight.
and
And if you're not, you should click that button so you can be a true subscriber.
yeah, you should, because you've made it this far.
Oh yes.
Stay true to yourself. Stay true to life. Have a good time,
Be safe,
for sure.
but have fun.
Oh yes. Get like Miss Frizzle said, be messy, make mistakes. Like I say it as a joke a lot of time to people. I'm like, oh, I was like, well, make good choices or make bad ones and tell me all about it. Like, I really want to know. And thank you all for coming in and doing this again with me. This is pretty fun. Thor, thank you for coming back.
Yeah.
Brian, thank you for coming and sitting in.
A pleasure.
Kyle, baby,
Oh,
thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Sweet,
coming in for you
sexy
guys.
cow.
Hope you all enjoyed
What's up,
this. Hope you all enjoyed this episode of Hardcore Fiction, episode 18. Hopefully, gonna be doing more of these very soon. Gonna hopefully have you guys back again for some more sessions, either together, group, or individuals, however you guys like. You guys are always welcome to come back and sit on another ramble of
Yeah, man, I
randomness.
dig it. I dig it.
And I hope that you all come back as well and click on the videos and subscribe and like and do all that other sexy stuff that YouTube likes you to do. I'm your host, Ronan.
I'm Brian.
Thor.
Kyle.
It's been Hardcore Fiction, and I cannot wait to see you in the next adventure. Have a good one, friends.
Shut up, kitty.